Yes. Safer than well, Mark. Oh, that's just curious. They said two on Sunday, so they made it. Yeah. Yeah. Then it's stronger than I think. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, it's just the way they brought in girls. It's the same. So it's great. It's all supposed to be some supposed to be. Yeah, it's bigger. That's right. So it's no eight. Somewhere first. Oh, bears. It's better than 2 hours. Stay. Yeah. It didn't say. Really? It's for a while. Me too. Why didn't, I forgot there was a reason why we didn't send these. Because we were supposed to have a hearing, we had withdraw, they had items withdrawn after we had the cap one. So the 585. We did have the final language. The issue was that 585 was continued. But not until after we had that meeting, or just before that. It was already. Sure, where it's coming from. Getting an echo. So I said to somebody, "This stuff," and I said, "That's not possible." I don't think I screw up right now, or did you? I'm trying to figure out what the echo is coming from. Sure. Do you not hear it? Maybe I'm just hearing it. Oh. It must be coming. I think it might be coming from the computer. Right. The whole cover for me. So like this. Oh, yeah. It's been fun.
Fantastic. Call this meeting, the New Shoreham Town Council to order. Today is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. It is 7 p.m. on the button. First item on the council agenda is approval of minutes. Are we doing just November 14th and 18th? Is that correct? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes open and closed for November 14th and November 18th, 2024?
So moved.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. All right, Millie, you're on. Tell us what to do. You gonna do it like Animal House where it's
Oh.
I
All
state
right, so
your-
we'll begin with with the swearing in of the town council. We're going to begin with First Warden Keith Stover. Please raise your right hand. Do you, Keith Stover, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of First Warden according to the best of your abilities, and that you'll support the charter granted to New Shoreham in 1672, the Home Rule Charter of the town, the Constitution and laws of this state, and the Constitution of the United States, so help you God? Very good, thank you. Go on in. Nancy? Yeah, at least you can get into the camera. Please, sir. Yeah, come, like, take your seat. Come take your seat. Nancy, could you raise your right hand? Do you, Nancy Dodge, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Second Warden according to the best of your abilities, and that you will support the charter granted to New Shoreham in 1672, the Home Rule Charter of the town, the Constitution and laws of the state, and the Constitution of the United States, so help you God? Very good. I did mention that maybe we'll do you guys as a group. Do you want me to do? Okay, then we'll have the three counselors stand. And you can raise your right hand. Okay. And do you, William McComb, Tristan Payne, and Molly Margaret O'Neill, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of the town council according to the best of your abilities, and that you'll support the charter granted to New Shoreham in 1672, the home rule charter of the town, the Constitution and laws of the state, and the Constitution of the United States. So help you God. Thank you.
Billy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only change here is that we did not continue Club Soda's BV license. So the cap there is 25, but only 24 have been issued.
That's correct. Yes, although we did have a extra license, a BVL license from last year. So right now we've only issued, you've granted one BVL, one limited, and there are, your cap does include two at this time.
I don't know what folks' inclination is. Do you, basically there's two choices here. We can set the cap at 24 and 1, or we can have an available BV license and an available BVL license
I'd be in favor of capping it at what we have.
at 24.
Mhm.
I do as well. Keep the current cap.
Those are, I think those, would you like to move it down from 25 to 24? Or do you want to?
That
keep
would
it at-
be my choice,
Okay.
but
Say, I don't know.
I'll make a motion to keep the current cap as stated with the 25, leaves one open license and one of the other ones. Millie, the BM?
The BVL, so currently you have issued 24 BV full and one BVL. The cap as it sits now has 2 BVL licenses and 25 BV. So leaving one open in both of those two categories with your current motion, Tristan.
Okay. That is my motion.
For a second.
I'll second that.
I sort of like the idea of having one available. One of the things that occurs to me is we had a particular young couple that was trying to get a restaurant going last year. Didn't quite fit the criteria. I know that they're searching for a place, and just that flexibility is attractive to me, I guess. But I'm, this is literally not like a hell to die on for me. And we can, if we want to, can we at any point? So we can't.
According to your rules and regs, they are only addressed once a year.
Right.
Right.
Okay. That's it. Right. Any other discussion? All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Right?
Aye.
Opposed, no.
no.
The ayes have it. So was your motion just for BV or was it for all of the licenses?
Keeping the two open.
All of them.
Okay,
Correct.
great, terrific.
We need to
Can I have a motion to adjourn the Board of License Commission?
So moved.
please?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. You guys have it. Any public comment? Wow. Come on up, Arlene. Just identify yourself for the record, please. Oops. Identify yourself for the record.
Arlene Tunney. I'd like to talk to you about the harbor side or the proposed new harbor side. We all want to see a new hotel there and to close up the hole in our front teeth. But I think there's some problems with what's proposed, and I'd like to tell you about those problems. Aside from the setbacks in our zoning, they don't have any setbacks. But they're supposed to have one parking space for every 4 guest rooms, one empty one employee spot for every 10 rooms, one spot for every store, and a loading zone. They don't have any of that. Not having, the parking is I guess, zoning will come up with. But the loading zone, I think, is very important because otherwise the trucks will park on Water Street or on Chapel Street. And we all know what that's like. But the one important thing that's not in our zoning, but it's a federal law, and that is a handicap parking. They have to have at least one handicap parking spot for a new hotel. And they can't, I'm not talking as a historic district member, but they did come before historic district. And there's a small area in the back where I said, you could put a handicap parking spot there. And the architect said, no, we can't because they're short 3 feet of width for a handicapped right of way for somebody to walk in. And they don't own the property behind them. But yet they have at least 3 exits out of the back of the building, one of which is a handicapped accessible exit onto somebody else's land. I don't know who owns that other piece, but it is a federal law. And I think if you approve that without a handicap spot, it's opening the town for suit from the ADA. So please keep that in mind.
Thank you, Arlene. That was helpful. Jess? Feeling newly free?
Great. Well, I was elected to another position, which is
know.
just as taxing. Jessica Willey, I am here as the Executive Director of the Block Island Tourism Council. I would just like to remind the Town Council that our community tree lighting is tomorrow, the Harbor Church at 5:30. We light the tree around 6. So if you're in the neighborhood and you'd like to come see Santa and listen to the kids sing and watch the other tree get lit, we'd love to see you.
Fantastic. By the way, Jess, our next item on the consent, one of the things is acknowledging receipt of the economic impact of visitors. It's a really good report, and if you haven't looked through it, do look through it. It's really worth it.
And I'm happy at any time to explain it, or if anybody wants
I think
to
we should
stop
do that
by,
at
and
some point,
I'm happy to
Yeah.
come in and
Yeah, I think
as much as I can. It's
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jess. Any other? Yes, come. Just identify yourself at the mic.
Hi, I'm Martin Milner. I'm representing Justin Jones. He can't be here right now, but he does have an interest in obtaining the license for a liquor license and a B&B license for where Club Soda was, and actually trying to reopen that bar and restaurant in the coming summer. I just wanted to express that that is something that we are going to be filing for, and hopefully it's something that we'll be able to get, because honestly, Club Soda is a staple of the island. I mean, a lot of islanders really love it, love the location. And just so everybody knows, he did make a genuine attempt to purchase the license from Max prior to Max deciding to just let it go. And he has made every effort to try to do that, and Max didn't want to do that. But really, I think Club Soda is something that the island needs, and I think it would be a real shame to lose it forever.
Terrific. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right, our consent agenda, as I said, if you haven't looked at the economic impact, if you haven't seen that, Bill, it's actually worth a look. And then acknowledging a letter from Chris Warfel on microgrids. Can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Now, Nancy, do you feel the earth moving? Because we've moved the appointments up on the agenda. This is a, can you, just in my feet.
I'm still getting used to the perspective.
Yes, you're right, exactly. Kidding aside, after months of crotchety complaining and cajoling largely from Molly and me, we decided to move. This is usually the last item on our agenda. And we thought somehow by moving it up and not having it be something that we're tossing in at the end, it would give us an opportunity to say we have openings, and it's our government doesn't function without volunteers for these various positions. So please, if you have a complaint about taxis, or if you say, boy, what is our transportation system? We have an opening on the Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire. If you're paying attention, water and sewer, absolutely critical to the future of the island, not just environmentally, but economically. Really, really important stuff. Transportation safety. I probably get more texts about transportation safety for at least 4 months of the year than I get about anything else. Yes?
Also, I would like to formally apply to be on the Transportation Safety Committee.
Great.
I know I have to submit a
Yes, send an
written.
email to Millie.
I absolutely will. Obviously, you guys know I manage a couple of the moped shops in town, and hopefully my experience can be of help.
Wonderful.
Great.
We don't have any volunteers for any of these before us this evening, do we?
That's correct. I put this on here more as a tickler to remind you all that you want to be soliciting and making, working on getting those names filled,
Great.
positions filled.
Have I adequately solicited?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, but as far as representatives from within the town government, whether you want to be following up on that, or whether you want
Yeah.
to aim at following up on that, this direction.
People get tired of having me ask them.
Can we, is there some way we can just put a squib in the Block Island Times and just run it, not buried in the back, but put it up front so that people who do buy the Block Island Times will see it there rather than, just pick up the people who might be listening tonight?
How about if you and I together write something? I'll do a draft. You and I will write something about how important it is.
Okay,
We'll do that
absolutely.
Item 7, discuss and act on annual renewal of motorized tricycle, bicycle, and scooter moped rental licenses for the 2025 licensing year. Just to preface, these motions are formal and a bit lengthy. So I'll do that thing where I say a motion would be in order to and read the motions that have been prepared by Millie and Laurel and Keisha. I just wanted to give you the heads up that that's procedurally how this would go. Do you want to start with Aldo's? Any questions, thoughts, concerns? There are no changes in any of these, if I recall correctly, when I looked at them, right?
I had a couple questions about the gasoline storage.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they storing their gasoline?
Someone here from Aldo's who can answer that, please? Johnny, when you come up, will you just identify yourself at the mic, please? Thank you.
Yes, hi, John Leone from Aldo's. In the back of the shop, there's a container that's approved by the fire department, the,
NFPA.
yeah.
So like behind the candy shop?
Well, behind the moped shop. Yep.
The microphone?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I got the green light.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding Aldo's?
I guess this will be the same for all of them. So can someone just refresh, what happens when they take a moped offline? How does that procedure? So
Paul, do you have you probably have the best answer for that.
Right. Yes, I do. The stickers that we number them all by, we do have spares. So when they have one that gets wrecked or crashed or whatever happens to it, we just swap out stickers. The old ones decommissioned and we put stickers on the new one.
all right, so if they take one offline, they have to seek your approval before putting that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
all
I'm
that-
the one that has the stickers.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you.
You
So they
wanna-
come to the police station for that? They don't do that at their location?
They'll call me and I'll just go down there and we'll swap everything out. They've been really good. All the dealings that I've had with them, when I've had any issue with them, I go and talk to them and most of the issues are resolved pretty quickly. So we have a pretty good working relationship right now.
So last year, one of the applicants explained to us that they have extra mopeds on the property so that if somebody needs a double rather than a single, or if it's a tall person rather than a short person, they can use a different bike. How's that numbering work?
No, they can't because they're all numbered. They all get the same amount of stickers, period. That's all they
So-
get. And if one's broken and they take it off the road and it's no longer any good, then we put new stickers on a new one.
Okay, so that their description of their business was incorrect last year.
Correct.
And they, so they do not swap out mopeds based on the clientele.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, guys? For Aldo's mopeds, a motion would be in order to renew the motorized tricycle, bicycle, and scooter license for the rental of up to 34 mopeds at Plat 6, Lot 89, pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island, vehicle identification numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, and certificate of insurance, and in accordance with the ordinances of the town of New Shoreham, with such license to expire December 31st, 2025. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation on unimproved roads, and the following language, quote, "The horn on the vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion," end quote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Moped man, any questions?
I do.
Yep.
Again, I'd like to know about the gasoline storage. A moped man.
Anybody here from the moped ban?
Yes, hi, John Leone again. The same situation, there is an approved container on the side of the building that has the gas stored there.
So on the side of which building?
The moped shop, the rental sign-up booth. Do you want me to point it out?
The little one or the
Yeah.
big one? This little one here.
That, yeah, let me see. Yeah, that little guy right there. Actually, you can almost see the little container.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And then I had a question about like, the larger building, there are mopeds stored inside that building?
No.
And then my other question on this one is that, so how many mopeds are they each allowed to have?
34.
34, because there are 36. Oh, no, wait, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's a different one, has 36 listed. Sorry. That's everything I got. Sorry,
Thank you.
I was jumping ahead.
For the moped ban, a motion would be in order to renew the license for the rental of up to 34 mopeds on Plat 6, Lot 100. Excuse me, pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island, vehicle information numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, and in accordance with the ordinances of the town of New Shoreham, with such licenses to expire December 31st, 2025. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include the hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation on unimproved roads, and the following language, quote, "The horn on this vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion," end quote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Finnemore and Fisher, doing business as Island Mopeds. Holly, is that the one? Any questions about Finnemore and Fisher?
Yes.
Great. That's great.
Okay, so this was one of the ones I had a question about. They have 40 mopeds listed on their list. So if the limit is 34, there's 6 extra.
Sure. So for the record, Josh Parks, outside counsel for Finnemore and Fisher. To answer your question, I think this is the same question we had last year. The cap is the number of licenses, the number of mopeds that can be rented out at any one time. There's no regulation or cap on number of mopeds that can be owned. It's only the size of the fleet that can actually be out on the streets of Block Island. So yes, Mr. Finnemore has more than 34 mopeds, but only 34 of those have a sticker issued by the police and are out on the road at any one time.
So I guess my thinking is, why do we have the extra 6 on here?
If one goes down, then it's easy. The moped's been identified. We can go right to the police, swap the sticker over, and the VIN's already out there. Kind of the moped's already a known
But I mean-
quantity, so to speak.
But you can, this information doesn't need to be on this license. If
There-
you have it, you have it, and you can exchange it with the police. I don't understand why we're approving 6 extra mopeds.
Yep.
I'm not comfortable approving 6 extra mopeds.
So there's no prohibition on the number of vehicles that can be put before you. The prohibition is the maximum number that can be rented at any one time, which is 34.
I understand that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but again, there's no prohibition against this, so I'm not quite sure, the issue, frankly. You've got these extras, these spares. That way, we can work with the police and get the moped going, frankly, and rented. And you don't run into a situation where, let's say you have a bunch of mopeds go down, and now you're scrambling and needing to, come up with new ones and do this on the back end. This has sort of been preset, so you're ready to go for the summer.
Can I say something? too?
course.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're not approving the list there. We're approving 34 mopeds on the licensing procedure. So whatever is listed there, there's only 34 that are approved for the rental. So, they can list as many as they want.
I understand what you're saying, but do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I do.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my other question is about the 2 lots on here. You have 2 lots listed as an operating location.
Lots 106 and lots 107. So that's traditionally the way, as I know you're familiar with the property, there's where the harbor side used to be, and then there's a small separate lot, which is lot 107, which is the piece that's on Weldon's Way. So traditionally, Island is operated principally out of lot 107 with a little sliver of what was the Harborside lot there as well. So this is what has been traditionally approved over the years. This is the same operating area that has existed since, in the decades before I came on the job here. And so Island is operating consistently with how it's operated in the past and consistently with the area that the Superior Court ruled it could continue to operate in 2021.
Keith, could I
And
jump in
then
for just
I
1 second?
also had the same question about gasoline storage.
In a container, a separate container that sits outside on the lot with sort of minimal gas for the day, and then, tanks are filled in the morning to minimize what's stored on site.
And then obviously there's no building to store the mopeds in, but previously the mopeds were in the basement of the building. So in the new structure, if there's going to be planned storage of gasoline powered vehicles under the building, that'll be part of the building plan.
So I can't speak to that building
has nothing to do
here,
with the
here right now,
license, by
right?
the
This
way.
is for 2025 licenses. You know, I know the building was before HDC last week. Frankly, I don't know the plans off the tip of my tongue, but it'll be done in accordance with fire safety for sure.
Great.
And I have Nick, who is trying to jump in here.
Can you hear me, Millie?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? No?
Just wait
Nothing?
1 sec, Nick. We can't hear you very well, just because of
Yep.
our volume.
How about now?
You're better.
Better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. I was just trying to jump in and possibly lend a hand to Mr. Parks and also bring some of the council up to speed, although most of you likely are. Certain litigation involving this applicant as well as other applicants dates back a number of years. One of those pieces of litigation, it's a 2022 case number. I believe Mr. Parks referenced it, whereby the Superior Court allowed this applicant to operate in the same area that it historically had. Mr. Parks, I believe you were a part of that. I wasn't. I'm going off an old order. If that's consistent with the applicant's recollection, my suggestion for the council would be to simply grant this application subject to the applicant continuing to operate where they historically have. And if you could give me leave to confer with counsel, if that's consistent with what he was suggesting to the board, I would have no problem with that.
That is exactly what I was trying to suggest to the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes, please.
Can I ask you a question? Because I always thought historically, lot 107 was the lot that was associated with the moped rentals, separate from the Harborside building. So have there been applications accepted over the past couple of years that list both of them?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Arlene?
The plans for the new Harborside building has an area approximately, I guess, 30 by 30, maybe a little bigger. It's called the bike shop. And that's probably where all the mopeds will be stored.
Okay.
But they claim they don't own the property behind it.
I'd just like to remind the council, we're here on 2025 licenses. The Harborside will not be reconstructed this year, unfortunately.
And do you rent any other vehicles besides bikes and mopeds on that property? Do you ever rent out cars?
I'm
Or
looking at you, Marty. Can you just give me a thumbs up, thumbs down? I can tell them.
No, we only rent bicycles and mopeds.
no courtesy cars are given to people?
If we have somebody who comes and, Mike knows somebody or something that comes out to the island and would like a vehicle, absolutely, we will let him. He can give away a car if he wants, but we do not charge for cars. Like if somebody stays in the hotel and we loan them a car as a courtesy, then yes, we have done that in the past, but they are not for rent in any way.
How many loaner cars do you have?
2 currently. And we don't plan on having any more than that.
So you don't rent them?
We do not rent them. We do not make any income based on the cars.
And whereabouts on the property are they parked?
Right now, one of them's parked at the airport because Mike uses it as his own car. The other one is currently just kind of parked arbitrarily in the lot, but normally I think we'd have it parked over at the Seacrest. It isn't a vehicle that we don't use them on a regular basis, so they're just there. Last winter, he loaned one of them out to an employee and then another one out to, I think, a friend over the winter. So they were both loaned out. It's a kind of a loaner car. I've used one of them for several months at a time.
Because now, so you didn't have a lot of hotel guests last year, so is there a necessity for that?
Is there a point to the questioning?
Marty, so again, I think we're here on a moped rental application for 2025. I don't know why we're talking about cars that are sort of gifted to people sometimes. I don't think it's part and parcel of this application. If there's something the town council would like to address, we can put it on an agenda item and do it in due course. But that is not what's before you now.
That we shall do. All right then. Any other questions?
I just have one.
Yes.
You identify a proficiency area on the map, correct?
Yes,
So there should be no training in the street.
training's done on the proficiency area.
Thank you.
Was training done in the proficiency area last year?
Yes.
No. It wasn't,
No.
but it will be this year. Is that my better question? My better question is all of the training will take place in this proficiency area this coming summer.
It will.
With this license.
It will.
It will.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul. Kim, you're next.
As the owner of Paul Filippi from Ocean State Bikes, as the owner of both a car rental license and a moped rental license, I would just like to see some clarification here. It's my understanding that they'll pay money for the mopeds at Mr. Finnemore's establishment, and then they're put into the cars, but the moped rental fee is kept. So in my understanding, that's not really a loan of a car, that's a rental of a car. And as I don't think it's fair that we have to go through all the rules and regulations to have a car rental license, and we have a competitor who's not following the rules. And then also, I would like clarification on the issue with the two lots that are in question. Are we talking about the rental of mopeds on the Harborside lot? Or are we talking about the rental of more than 34 mopeds on the Harborside lot, taking into consideration that the mopeds from across the street are rented on the Harborside lot as well? And I would like some clarification on that issue as well. Thank you.
Anybody want to answer that? Okay. How many mopeds are being rented on that lot?
So Island has it's more than 34 mopeds, but 34 licenses, and it rents 34 mopeds in accordance with those licenses at any one time. And then, as you know, Mr. Finnemore also oversees Miles Unlimited, who's another separate license holder.
But those mopeds are going to be rented from Miles Unlimited at Plat 6, Lot 111?
Those mopeds will be rented from the Miles lot.
So on the application for Miles Unlimited, it says operating location, Plat 6, Lot 111. Although that's not the application we're on right now.
Correct. I'm sorry, is there a question pending?
No.
There is a question pending, which is you will only be renting from that property the 34 mopeds that are in this application.
Yes, the mopeds will be rented in accordance with the applications that the council has before it.
Any other questions? Kim? Sorry, I missed you, Kim.
Kim Gavitt, just from the discussion earlier about proficiency training and whether it's all done on the property, I want to know if proficiency training includes test driving in that definition, because they're definitely doing the test driving on Weldon's Way proper, not on the lot. So are we playing a game of semantics here?
That's been my
That's
sense.
his
yes,
distinction.
that the training's occurring on Weldon's Way. Not on the, not in the proficiency area.
So, could I just ask, if you explain what takes place in the proficiency area?
Martin Milner, manager, both Island and Miles. I'd like to start out by stating that I find the fact that we are being dragged over the coals here, where none of this happened with any of the other moped licenses. However, I will be very happy to answer your question. If anyone during the summer, any member of the council would like to come down and observe our proficiency examination there, it's being done currently because we have the entire Harborside lot. We do our nice little loop around the back of the central tent, and then providing that we see that they've done well, they go away. We have a set area that we do our proficiency training in. It's obvious, it's visible to anybody who walks by. When I speak to people as a group, explaining how the vehicle operates, it's done on the property. We are being now dragged across the coal, told that we are not doing that while we are, and not a single other shop has had that brought up. And I think this is targeted harassment, personally.
Wow.
You have an area on your application that says proficiency area.
That is
We're
correct.
questioning what is on your application.
Yes, that is our proficiency area. Yes, that is where we,
So that is where all the test drives for your clients will take place.
that is correct. And it's the way it has taken place.
I would disagree with that, but for this year, which is what we're looking at.
Yes.
I
that's
just,
where the-
my biggest problem is why we're being asked this. But very well, yes, it will all be happening there.
Paul?
I'd like to just offer some clarification from my own observations here. It seems to me that Miles Unlimited mopeds are being rented from the Harborside location. The training for Miles Unlimited moped is being done on the Harborside location. The licenses say the licenses cannot be transferable to different lots and that there can only be a maximum of 34 rented from each lot. Therefore, I feel like my competitors have an unfair advantage because they're breaking the rules. And I think that it makes us all look bad when one of us breaks the rules. So I would like the town council to further get clarification on this issue, please.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So we've been talking about this, the Superior Court actions, and Nick, I think it would behoove us to have you go back and check on some of those, because my understanding, unfortunately, was that several years ago, the applications were processed and Miles Unlimited was allowed to be rented behind the harbor side, and that's why we couldn't stop it. You know, going back many years. I was never clear on that. It was past my time. But I think it would be, I would ask if you would kind of pull out those, that case law and just double check and see what exactly it says.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That
Thank
would
you.
be very helpful, Nick. And the other thing is we're talking about licenses for 2025. And Paul, you've clearly heard, from the council in terms of proficiency areas and testing and that kind of thing. And we want to make sure that the ordinance is adhered to, which requires a proficiency area. And if you need resources to do that, I'm happy to hear that. John?
To Nancy, why would it be allowed? Why would it be allowed?
Allowed?
Yeah.
The argument I had heard several years ago was, well, the town had acquiesced in this and therefore we couldn't now say, no, you can't do it. Because
So that's for every license then? If you
No.
can't for them, good for the others? I don't get it.
No, I mean, at one point it was supposedly Hagopian's mopeds were managed behind the harbor side. I mean, that's what I heard about many years ago. And when the argument was made that, no, you can't do that, it was pointed out that for several years, the clerk's office had okayed the application process for that to happen. That's what I'm asking. Has that ever been litigated or pushed? And is there something in some Superior Court decision that says that's okay?
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, I'm a little confused on that.
Yeah, because
it's-
you're supposed to
it doesn't
be
make
at a
sense.
particular plat and lot. That was the way it was originally
Yeah,
drawn.
because if it's allowed on one, it should be allowed for others too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, just,
Yeah, no, I always thought that
clarification.
Hagopian should be behind the building where Hagopian had them in the garage, and that's where they were rented from, but that hasn't happened in many years. So I'm just asking.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Paul?
I think this brings into question the insurance issue. If Miles Unlimited is insured to operate on the Fenimore and Fisher lot or not, that's a question. I believe, Nancy, the latest Superior Court issue, the latest Superior Court action, this was not an issue in terms of the restraining order,
Not this latest one.
not the latest one.
Not
And-
the latest one.
and I
That's why
bel-
Nancy was asking for Nick
Okay.
to look back
Sure.
in previous decisions.
And I believe that in the earlier decision, that was brought up, the fact that they were licensed to operate on both lots, or the town approved that, but it was never litigated as far as my recollection serves. And this is for 2025, so I would like to see the rules enforced for the new licensing for 2025.
So that you heard what I was saying. You'll see in the motions that we do that these are on specific plat and lots. And that's why I mentioned that to Paul, because I think it ends up being an enforcement issue, quite frankly.
Okay.
So we're talking about what the licenses are, where they are located, where mopeds can be rented for next season.
Okay,
Okay?
understood.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then one more question, if anybody knows, what would be the fines or the punishment if you were found out to be renting more than 34 mopeds from
The
any
answer
one
to that
location?
question, Paul.
Okay,
Does anybody know offhand? I don't know offhand. Good
Okay.
question. Yeah.
all right, thank you very much.
Any other comments from the council, most importantly?
I think one of the areas, I think you're probably doing the testing of the, how to operate the moped on the property, the brakes and the gas and the throttle and so forth. It's that final leg, which seems to happen on Weldon's Way from several of the operators down there, go down the road, make a U-turn, come on back and say you do. And then what happens is there's often employees that are out there grabbing the bikes and so forth. So that's an area, that's an enforcement issue for the police department to deal with. But I think if you make the efforts on that end of it, I think that's where the rub comes from a lot of people, and it gives you the impression that the training is being done in the street. So whatever that's worth, that can focus on that.
All right, regarding Finnemore and Fisher, motion would be in order to grant a license for the rental of up to 34 mopeds at Plat 6, lots 106 and 107, pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island and consistent with, what is it, Nick? Consistent with where they have historically been rented.
Where they've historically operated as outlined in the 2022 court order.
Well, I incorporate that into my motion, Counselor.
Thank you.
Vehicle identification numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, and in accordance with the ordinance of the town of New Shoreham, with such license to expire December 31st, 2025. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation on unimproved roads, and the following language, quote, the horn on the vehicle on the vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion, end quote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Miles Unlimited. Let's see. Sorry, just had to open my thing. Are there any questions from the council about this one?
Yeah, I again wanted to know where the gasoline is stored.
Again, Josh Parks, outside counsel for Miles Unlimited. Gasoline storage is in a separated container, not part of the building.
In the back building behind the hotel, or is it part of the hotel?
No, not part of the hotel.
So is it this building at the rear here?
No, that gas storage, I believe it occurs on, is that gas storage together? It's together with the gas storage for Island.
But so Miles Unlimited stores their gas on Finnemore's property?
On the 106 in the same container.
But they're applying to be on a different plat and lot.
Miles is traditionally operated. It's on 111. That's where the mopeds are stored. That's where the ticketing takes place. That's where the operations happen. Some limited gasoline storage happens with the Island gas.
Where do they do their proficiency testing?
Proficiency testing takes place on 106.
But we're not approving that. We're approving them for this lot. That's what they applied for.
The company itself is operated out of 111. That's where the tickets happen. That's where the mopeds are stored. That's where the employees are. That's where the paperwork is done. And then proficiency.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's where the paperwork is done. And proficiency exams happen directly across the street on 106.
So if I go to Miles Unlimited, do I go to Chapel Street? Or do I go to rent a moped? Do I go to Chapel Street or do I go to lot 106?
You go to Chapel Street. That's where the booth is.
And where is the moped store that you're gonna rent?
Mopeds are stored on that lot that's identified in the application on that Chapel Street lot.
So I would go fill out an application.
Yep.
They would take a moped
Yep.
on that lot.
Yep.
Walk it across the street.
Right across the street and then do the proficiency exam.
So when the moped was returned, is that moped returned back to the Chapel Street lot,
It should be.
not to the 106?
Correct.
Wait for the next rider.
Correct.
So, Nick, can I ask, how are these licenses written? So if somebody's applying to have it on one lot, should the entire business be taking place on that one lot?
Your ordinance speaks to, I believe the language is the premises. It doesn't specifically prohibit this example where you have a proficiency area across the street. You're licensing a business operation to occur at a premises. That term is undefined in your ordinances. It further doesn't prohibit part of that operation, such as a proficiency area happening across the street.
And having been involved in some of the back and forth over these licenses in recent years, you know, this proficiency area issue has been a hotly contested and at times litigated item here. And that's why these proficiency areas are identified on the applications that are given to you, and why the proficiency area in this case is, you know, where it's sensible and where it has historically happened over at the Island lot. It gets the mopeds off Weldon's Way. This was the, this was the main thrust of a multi-day preliminary injunction hearing that happened in the Superior Court. And this has been the plan that everybody came up with, that the litigation was settled by, and that everybody's been operating under in the few years since.
Was that litigation, Nick, Josh just said, I don't recall this proficiency area and lot restriction being a negotiated part of that settlement, but I could be wrong.
It predates my involvement. I believe it was handled by the trust. My understanding of it is that there was a temporary restraining order entered by Justice Taft Carter in Washington County, allowing certain moped establishments to continue operating where they historically operated. And having not been a part of it, but from what I'm told by trust counsel who was representing the town, that the judge simply maintained the status quo, allowing them to continue doing what they historically did.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, I know we can't stand what happens on Weldon's Way, but I am certainly not going to object to the sharing of a proficiency area if it exists wherever it exists, you know, involving mopeds. At this,
It's used.
yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of the night, the 34 rental mopeds will be on one property, and the other 34 mopeds will be stored on.
Yes.
Miles property.
Yes.
Any other, Johnny? Come on up to the mic before you.
John Leone. Clarification, are we making up new rules? I don't get it.
No.
I mean, can we just do any proficiency areas wherever we would like? I'm not getting it.
No, I think what you heard was, and this is quite frankly a challenge from the council's perspective, because
Okay.
some of this, much of this has been litigated over the years. And
I've been doing it for a
no,
long time. I
I know,
never
I'm
heard
just-
of this
I'm just-
being
I'm
litigated.
just-
Trust me on that.
I'm just trying to explain it from our perspective.
Okay.
So it's been litigated over the years.
Yeah.
We have our ordinance, which is narrow. We have efforts that have been made at various times by the town council, by town councils for, generation.
I mean, I've been here a
And
long time and I haven't
I know you
never
have-
seen
I'm not,
this.
Johnny, I'm not
Yep.
trying to explain it to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to say that
So what
one
we're
of,
saying is we could do our operations where proficiencies
that-
wherever we want.
if you had let me finish, I would have finished that sentence.
Okay.
And one of the things that apparently was litigated is, or apparently was decided, was Judge Taft Carter saying that where things historically happened was sanctioned in one of her decisions, one of her, I don't know what you call it, one of her decisions. Let's leave it there. So we're struggling, as you can hear, with, well, does that actually mean that Miles Unlimited can do proficiency training at plot 106, 107? Well, it has happened historically. What does that mean in the context of the judge's decision? It's, it's not bright lines from our perspective either. So that's what we're struggling with.
And that was in the last decision that Judge Cat,
No, it was not in the last decision.
It
I
wasn't?
believe it was in the decision before, which is, and I say that because Nick said I wasn't involved in that
Right,
one.
and just for, and I'm playing lawyer here, but just to be specific, it wasn't a decision. It was an order when a moped applicant or moped applicants filed for a temporary restraining order. Justice Taft-Carter granted that temporary restraining order to maintain the status quo while that case went on. She did not reach a per se decision in that case.
Okay.
So I'm sure a lot of parties in the room are familiar with the written decisions that have come forth over the years. This was an order of the court to maintain the status quo while a case proceeded. That case is still not over. It's an active piece of litigation involving the trust. So just for clarity, it's not a court decision. It is an order entered by the court at a particular time. That's why many folks may not have read it in a written court decision.
Terrific. Thank you for clarifying that.
It also doesn't, does that permit constantly rewriting history while it's ongoing? Or or does it only preserve what was historically done prior to her making that determination?
I think if you made a decision tonight that was inconsistent with something historically done, you would have the same response from the Superior Court because you have the same justice sitting in the Superior Court in Washington County. So that's more of a practical answer than it is, say, a legal one. But you would be presenting the same issue before the same justice who said, maintain the status quo while these issues are hashed out.
So if we were to make a decision, and I'm not saying we will, but just let's say we were to ask that, or we were to allow the training area to exist on the other property for this year only, specifically not setting a precedent for future years. Could we do that?
You could add that to the motion. I'm not sure legally whether the language of not setting a precedent doesn't set a precedent. But for generally speaking, when you're dealing with licenses, it's an annual consideration. In fairness, on the flip side, you will have an applicant who will use that, and I'm not saying this applicant, use that against you to say that, well, this is what we've historically done. So I don't see any, that's the long way of saying I don't see any harm in adding that language if the council is so inclined.
Was this?
I got a question. Was all the companies granted a TRO?
It was a Finnemore and Fisher case. That's the best I can speak to it.
Okay. Well, it could have been their name first. I don't know.
Was this application submitted this way last year with the
Yeah.
proficiency area?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Josh, would you just come to the microphone? Sorry about that, but thank you.
I'm pretty comfortable in saying yes.
Paul?
If I may, I'm feeling very frustrated here. We've all spent thousands of dollars on lobbyists, lawyers. We've all wasted political capital, social capital up at the State House. Not only am I involved with the mopeds, I have other businesses on the island. And all this back and forth makes the whole island look bad, and it harms our other businesses as well. Right now, there are 68 mopeds being rented on the Harborside lot. Everyone's complaining about traffic, congestion on Weldon's Way. Why are there 68 mopeds being rented from there? The rental, all the rental activity, the credit card machines, they're all on the Harborside lot. Nothing is taking place across the street on Chapel Street. All the mopeds are being stored on the Harborside lot and the gas. There's an illegal car rental operation taking place on the Harborside lot. The training issue was before the Superior Court with the TRO in terms of location. And I think that was the only issue in terms of location that was before the judge when the TROs were submitted. So I'd just like to point that out. I think it's unfair for us that are operating legitimately, doing our best to deal with these contentious issues on the islands. And there's one operator here who's obviously breaking the rules. If there are consequences, I think now is the time to have those consequences take place. And that's my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul. I think, Paul, without responding to everything you just said, I think you can see that we are taking this issue very seriously as we talk about licensing for this coming summer. What happened last year happened last year. What happened 2 years ago. But I think you can hear from pretty much everybody who's spoken here that this is an area of emphasis for us and an area of concern. And fortunately, Paul's here because at the end of the day, it ends up being an enforcement issue.
If it is an enforcement issue, what are the fines and what are the consequences if it turns out that the entire operation is taking place on the lot that it's not licensed for?
I don't, as I said before, I don't know what the fines are, but presumably if there is an unlicensed business occurring, the town has a number of legal rights and remedies in that case. If
And
that's
that includes a potential show cause hearing to revoke or suspend a license. We had one of those a few years ago. That's your primary enforcement mechanism.
Mr. Parks, would you mind coming up?
Yeah.
We kind of commingled the license. Could you just speak to lot 111 and the 34 mopeds? Are they rented on lot 111?
Yes, that's where the moped, that's where that's where, I apologize, I have like a frog in my throat.
It's okay.
That's where the business is located, right? The only thing that happens on 106 is the proficiency exam. The rest of the business is 111.
Okay. And then can you speak to how do they, does staff take them over to 106?
Yes, I believe it's right across, it's right across Chapel Street there.
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Wait, so, I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought here, but like, so you said that the business takes place on lot 111.
Yes.
Can you show me where? By the fudge shop? Right in there.
Mr. Milner, do you want to get into that question?
So this is,
Can you just give us a rundown on how the mopeds leave lot? You can go. Use it.
this is Eli's fudge shop.
Yeah, why don't you point to it for
I got
Molly
Molly and
and so that we can see it if you don't mind, Marty.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Where do people rent the moped?
So, see this building, this tiny little building here?
Mm-hmm.
That is the moped rental shop and bicycle rental shop for Miles and Underwood. This over here is the moped rental shop.
Hey, Marty, would you just tell us what number you're, if just so that we
Sorry.
can, no, it's totally fine. You're not doing anything wrong. I'm just,
I have to look at the
Well,
numbers there.
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I think it'll be clear for the record, because when we spoke on the lot, the other license for 106 and 107, they stated it.
Yes.
So. We've got it's hard to see here, you can't quite tell, but we have a booth here and it's not showing on the picture. There's like a little stand here and there's a door right here that you can go in and that's kind of the back office.
So what you pointed out to me is actually on lot 108.
Yeah, I missed.
Mm.
It's kind of hard to tell in this picture.
Is it in Eli's or the fudge shop or
It's next to Eli's.
next to Eli's?
So this is Eli's, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh. So if this is Eli's, then that means that right here is a separate little room with a separate little door with a code on it. That is the Miles in the middle.
It's part of the building, correct? It's not a
Yes.
separate building.
Yeah, it's part of, I can show you now that I understand where you.
I got you. I know where it is.
And this is 111.
So this is Eli's.
This is one.
There is a
Yeah,
door
together.
here,
Yes.
and we have like a little stand out here. I might have even a picture of it in my phone.
I got it. Thank
Do we
you.
have a sign there? Yeah. Okay.
My main thing,
Fine.
Council, my main thing, I think you answered the question. If I come down and rent a moped from Miles Unlimited, I go onto that property.
Correct.
You just decide. I fill out my application and do my transaction.
Correct.
With credit card, whatever it might be. At that point there, a moped is brought over to the proficiency lot across the street on Mike's place over there, and I get my instruction and I go from there. When I come back, where do I bring that moped?
Ideally, you bring.
Not
it back-
ideally, where do I bring it back?
You bring it back here, you're supposed to bring it back here,
To, back here is what, to Miles' property?
the Miles property. Now, we rent bicycles and mopeds and you tell them where to bring it back, and I'm not 100% they're gonna bring it back the right way. But, you know, this is where they're supposed to bring it back.
Into the front of the building, because there's a curb there, or do they go around the back?
They pull up, we see them, and then we take the moped and bring it right back.
And that's the procedure you'll be using for.
Yes, for 2025,
And
yes.
that's the procedure that will be called for under the license. Most important, which you want my finger here?
Oh, the map is down.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. Taking away Molly's tools. Oh, you still have the floor if you have any other questions.
What's that?
Do you have any other questions?
I mean, I don't know if we clarified anything. Did we clarify anything?
Well, truthfully, I think, as you know, Bill asked the important questions. I think there's a certain aspirational nature to the business operations being on Lot 111 because I haven't seen that. But that's anecdotal, you know, that's Keith Stover going to the post office a couple times a week and, you know, and I think the important thing here is that we are licensing a specific business for a specific lot. And if that business is being conducted elsewhere, then we've got to deal with that next summer. You know, I mean, that's.
And that brings up the puzzling question of has this been before somebody in the past?
Right.
And has this been done for so many years that it now is considered status quo?
It's a really important point, Nancy. You're right.
So I would,
I would
you
say,
know,
Nancy, that it had, not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but like, I would say it has not been done elsewhere because they just told us it was happening on 111 behind the door with the code on it, right? So they can't now tell us that it was being done somewhere else.
but if, I'm saying if they can show that that's been being done that way for many years, then it might fall under one of the court orders about maintaining the status quo, whatever that status quo was. So is it possible to hold off on this license? And Nick, have you checked the court orders and check with the trust attorney to see what the status of that case is and what that particularly covered? And is there some way that we can double check how the application for Miles Unlimited have come in over the past
Several years.
Several years. I mean, 8 to 10 years, I would say, possibly, but at least the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, if you're not inclined to vote this evening and you need more information, you certainly could continue the matter.
Nick, this is Josh. We're here on these licenses. All 5 of these licenses were duly noticed. They're here before the council tonight. The pattern and practice, although they're 5 individual licenses, is, as we've seen here tonight, it's gone as they typically have gone. They're sort of discussed together. To pull one out when others have already been voted on and approved is contrary to past practice, contrary to what we've been noticed to do here tonight, and frankly is going to work a unique prejudice to only one of these 5 licenses that's now been singled out.
Would there be a way, Nick, to put them all on hold then?
No, we've already voted.
You've
on
already,
it.
grant, you've already granted a number, but I'm comfortable saying that if the council is not comfortable in taking a vote, has requested more information, you certainly could continue the matter. Or you could proceed and take a vote tonight. But if the question is, can you continue this? Yes.
Nancy, would you like to make a motion to continue Miles Unlimited application?
I would, based on the questions that are being raised specific to Miles Unlimited tonight. When is our next? The 18th? That's in plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a second? Oh, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying.
Oh.
Yes, Doug. Sorry, I didn't see you back there.
By the 15th of December.
That was my question.
That was in the back of my mind as well.
And they must be within 30 days of receipt is action. But Nick, can a continuation considered action?
When was this received?
9:30.
I believe it was actually on the 15th of November.
I'm looking at a Miles Unlimited application dated November 26th. Is that what you have, Millie?
It is, although I don't know if that's a filing date or if it's a print.
That's when it was printed.
I think it's a printing date. They typically file on the first day that they can file.
Okay. Then
it says 10/3.
Yeah. Right, which we can't accept this application until 11/15. So
November 15th as a practical matter.
So Millie, that's a good point. I would keep it within the 30 days to be safe. If we can do that, and it would call for a special meeting.
Do we have on the 20th? No.
Do we have a work session on Thursday?
we have a work session at 3 o'clock on Thursday, Nick. Can that information be provided by then?
For me, it could be. I'm just relying on other folks, including trust council. I don't know their availability.
Or we could continue it to that date and
Let's
then
continue it
from there.
until then. And Nick, I know you always do your best to get us the background and information.
No problem.
And I'd just like to make sure my objection's on the record for the reasons I stated.
So a motion's been made and second to continue this to December, help me, Millie, December 5th.
At 3 o'clock.
At 3 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Ocean State Bikes.
Paul Filippi for Ocean State Bikes.
I think I've heard you before.
I've been up here.
Are there any questions for Paul?
Molly, the gasoline is stored behind the moped shop in approved metal gasoline storage containers on the marina side.
And you do your proficiency right in front of the shop, right?
Yes, we do.
Great. Are there any questions for this? Okay, Doug.
Doug Michelle, and I have a question. It's not necessarily for your operation. It's for all five. The ordinance requires $25,000 insurance per rider on the mopeds, $25,000 property insurance. Is that included in the rental contract that the person must sign so they know that they are insured? Because I haven't heard you say that as one of the conditions of your rental contract. And if it isn't there, you could make a motion after this and say all 5 shall include this so the rider knows they are insured.
Nick, did you hear that?
I did, and it may be more appropriate for the applicant as to what insurance they provide.
I believe we provided the insurance as requested in the application. It's my understanding that we do not inform the riders that they are insured underneath this policy.
So you don't inform them that they're insured, but are they insured?
Yes, they are insured.
So if they have an accident and get injured and go to the medical center, does that insurance policy that you have cover their care?
I'd have to look into that. I'm not really sure. The question's kind of open-ended. I don't know what the deductibles are, how the liability works.
Johnny, then Doug.
General liability insurance. For the companies, we provide the town with the insurance. They are a certificate holder as well. And Molly can contest to that.
Right, that's not what I asked.
No, I understand, but no, they are not.
They're not?
They're not. In other words,
I believe it's the town is
liability
insured.
No, it's insurance for the company. It's liability insurance. That's it. Yeah.
Doug?
So if a customer of yours gets into an accident and gets injured seriously, you're covered for the loss of your moped, but they're not covered? Is that what you're saying?
No, not the loss. It's liability insurance. It's only to cover the business. In case there's a lawsuit, we're covered for liability insurance if we're being sued or anything like that. That's what the coverage.
But where does it leave your customer?
Their own insurance, their own insurance.
Doug?
That's required by the state.
Do you have access to the moped ordinance in front of you right now? Can you read the insurance provisions that are required by the town to be insurance that is required to be carried for every operator, every driver, and the accident liability? It is required. It is not an option.
One second, that was for long ago, okay? And again, it's a state thing, not with the town. We already beat the town in that case. Because they tried to do that before and it wasn't required for us to carry insurance for the town. It was only through the state, whatever the requirements were for the state for registration, business and all that. If you want to look up that court case.
Well, do you have an answer to Doug's question? It's a good one. Regarding the type of insurance? No, you don't have it offhand? Okay.
So.
Right.
But it's the company.
But is that when you register the mopeds?
Yeah.
Is that a requirement of the state for registration? Certain insurance, is that what you're talking about, Doug?
No, I'm talking about what's in the town ordinance from day one in 1984, 1980, whatever it was put in. And it's still listed in the town code online as a legal ordinance.
It was challenged.
Yeah,
It's a part of the application, which is a part of the ordinance. And it's number 6, insurance coverage for operators of rented mopeds, tripeds, scooters, and insurance coverage for any liability of the applicant or lessor for personal injury or property damage by reason of the rental of the applicant's or lessor's mopeds or tripeds or scooters. Not less than $10,000 coverage for property damage per accident, $25,000 for injury or death sustained by the person, and $50,000 for all personal injuries and deaths resulting from one accident.
And you're talking about the riders of the mopeds, correct?
Sounds like it. Yeah.
I mean, you're asking me to interpret something I can't interpret.
I think if there was a legal issue, that policy could be available to a person who was injured or for any physical damage that occurred. And then it would be up to that person's attorney to contact that insurance company and make a claim. But the policy is there.
You understand where this is coming from, right? You know, this has been an issue with not just moped accidents, but with accidents occurring and then no reimbursement to the medical center for taking care of people who were injured. So,
All right, thanks for letting me know where that's coming from.
you know, that's where it's coming from.
If there's something that we could do to ensure that any riders were owed the medical center or make it easier for the medical center to pursue those claims, we'd be open to discussing that and enacting something along those lines.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
And I'd like to clarify, that case was back, I'm not sure of the year, but it was to do with the town wanted more than the state required. And that was what that case was. But the state, we meet the state requirements and then some. I think the state requirements are 50,000, 25,000, but we're insured for 100,000.
Well, fortunately, we're asking our solicitors to give us that legal background. So, you know, it's one of the things we'll be doing over the next few days.
So when Nick does that research, this is an addendum we could add at the end? Okay.
I would say so, yes. Nick, would you?
I mean, so for this question, your state law allows the town council to require certain things in an application, one of which is insurance coverage. And that's why this issue is, yes, it's in our ordinances, but it is in the application section, meaning the information to be provided by moped companies to the council. And it relates to liability insurance of the applicant. So liability insurance of the moped company. That comes into play when a moped company is liable for an accident. So if a rider, by way of example, of a moped is injured by the negligence of the moped company, this insurance would come into play. That's what that language speaks of. Interestingly, although you require this information in your application, you do not have an ordinance that requires insurance per se. You simply require the information as to the insurance and that there's a minimum insurance that is held by the applicant. But this appears to be, if I could paint with a broad brush, business liability insurance. If these companies are negligent, their insurance company will pay for what damages arise from that negligence.
Gotcha.
So if a rider is injured and they claim that they weren't properly trained, or they were rented a moped when they were intoxicated, they would have a case to collect the insurance.
Put it this way, would I pursue a claim against one of the moped companies in one of those scenarios? Yes.
But Nick, if an operator has an accident because of their own negligence, whatever it might be, at that point, it's their responsibility. If they happen to have their own auto insurance, whatever, that's where that would kick in. So we're talking about someone that falls off their moped and gets injured, goes to the medical center. That's on the driver itself.
Yes, and as you know, very often a personal auto policy. So for instance, Bill, your personal auto policy likely covers you when you have a rental vehicle. And that includes a provision commonly included in those policies called, and we call it MedPay for short, which is a section of a policy or a coverage in a policy that provides medical treatment for an insured driver who's injured. So again, going to my example, Bill, if you rented a moped and hit a tree, you maybe that's a poor example, but were involved in an accident, you could file a claim, provided that you have the coverage, against your own insurance company. Or if God forbid you hurt somebody, that somebody could file a claim against your insurance company.
So to your point, Keith, as far as a medical center, because someone has, they hit the sand, whatever it might be, The chase is really on with the operator.
With the
and
operator. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
the wheel falls off the moped, that's a different story for your liability.
Yep.
Yes.
Any other questions about this application? No? Motion would be in order to approve a license for the rental of up to 34 mopeds at Plat 6, Lot 159 to Ocean State Bikes, pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island, vehicle identification numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, and licensing fees. And in accordance with the ordinances of the town of New Shore, with such license to expire December 31st, 2025. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation on unimproved roads, and the following language, quote, "The horn on the vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion," end quote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Terrific. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations to the new members.
What about us?
Yeah, well.
Take care, John. All right, item number 8, receive and act on mobile food establishment permit renewal applications for 2025. We have no new ones. Do we have any questions about any of these? Because I'm just wondering, Millie, if we could do one motion. Can I have a motion to renew the mobile food establishment permits for Andiamo Zeke doing business as Aldo's Bakery, Block Island Gourmet LLC doing business as Block Island Gourmet Food Truck, Champlin's Hotel, Marina and Resort Food Trailer, and See the Light LLC doing business as Southeast Light Delights.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Item number 9. We're watching you. Yeah, exactly. Item 9, receive and act on hawkers and peddlers license renewal for 2025, Julia Gasner. This is the one that is up by Saucon Pond in the parking lot. Are there any questions about this application?
I have none. Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Discuss and act on town council meeting schedule for 2025. Anybody going away who is concerned about any of these dates? Obviously, we do our best to have flexibility, but we have to establish the schedule. Can I have a motion to approve the schedule as provided to us by the clerk's office?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Can I ask one question about scheduling, guys? I'm just really just for my own curiosity. Do you like the 7 o'clock start time? Or would you prefer a 6 o'clock start time, for example? No? Okay, that's fine. Look, that's why it was, someone wants dinner before the meeting, fair enough.
And in the winter, the deer are still moving at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's see, discuss and act on potential litigation regarding wall constructed on town property, Plat 3, Lot 128. This item may be discussed in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law. This has been discussed so much, I don't know that we need to go into closed, Nick, unless you disagree.
No, it's the, I'm comfortable doing this one in public session if the council's comfortable.
I am. Others? Yeah.
All right, so if I could jump in, Keith, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So this one's been kicking around a while. I believe James Callahan was before the council last month and was directed to send a letter to the property owner. And just to take a step back, there was a allegation that a stone wall was constructed on town property. The town had a survey conducted, which did confirm that the wall was in fact on town property, extending upwards of 14 feet onto town property. We met last month. The council directed Attorney Callahan and myself to send a letter to the attorney for the property owner, in short, saying, hey, we don't want to engage in litigation against a resident. We would prefer that this be resolved amicably. Would you move the wall? I got a letter back and had a conversation, a good conversation with the attorney for the property owner. The property owner has basically implored the council to consider alternatives other than litigation, such as, and these were thrown out there without specifics, but thrown out there as options, such as the property owner buying the land, leasing the land, being granted an easement on the land. Frankly, anything short of the property owner having to expend funds to move the stone wall. I told the attorney I would report back to the council, and that it would be a vote of the council that dictated next steps.
Okay. Thoughts, comments?
Nick, is the 14 feet the entire length of the wall, or?
It is the entire, well, the wall is quite long. It extends into the town property 14 feet. I could pull it up here and show you a copy of it if that helps you. I believe I can. Would it help if I showed you a copy of the survey?
Yes.
Okay. It's just loading.
There was an original survey, correct?
You know, it wasn't one that was usable for us. So frankly, in anticipation of litigation, we realized that one, or at a minimum, an updated survey would be needed. And I'm sharing my screen now, if you can see it, and I'll zoom in for you. The top of the screen is Michael and Mary Anderson's property. The bottom of the screen is town property, and these small circles marked stone wall or demarcating the stone wall along where my cursor is showing. And if you can read it, the notation here indicates 14.2 feet onto town property. That probably better answers your question than I could have otherwise.
Is that piece of town property a historic site? Is that listed as one? I don't know. Mrs. Ball left. She would have that history, unfortunately. I don't have the answer.
No, it's not in the district.
Not historic district, no, just.
But not a historic property. No,
historic. No?
no. But Nick, there is a credible backstory to this too, that, you know, I think should at least be discussed at this table as we
I
decide.
agree.
how to
I agree.
handle.
I agree. Do you want to add it, or would you like me to add it?
Why don't you start and
All right. So, and again, it's a new council, so I'll just go over the whole thing. I'm going to take this down so you can see me. There's been a suggestion by the property owner, and I say a suggestion because the other involved party denies it, but a suggestion by the property owner that while the wall was being erected, a town employee received a report that there was a wall being erected on town property and went out there. And according to the property owner, the town employee not only didn't stop him from erecting the wall, and I don't want to misquote the property owner, but indicated he didn't have a problem with the property owner continuing to erect the wall. You ask that town employee, he denies it vehemently. So there is that wrinkle to it. personally, although it doesn't matter, sympathetic to it. Nancy, if there's anything I'm missing there, please add. I'm paraphrasing to the best of my recollection.
And yeah, and the story that came out originally was that the town manager got a complaint and sent a town employee out to look. At that point, the wall was less than a third built. It was still in the process of being built. It was back in, I believe it was like in February of 2023. That's how long this has been going on. And the homeowner said, "Do you want me to take it down?" And was told, "No, wait, let me check and I'll get back to you." And the report back to the homeowner was, "No, you can leave it. It actually looks okay there. You can hardly see it from when you're up at the crest of the hill by the mansion. And we'll just have you sign some paperwork." The homeowner knew, I guess the town employee knew, that you can't get adverse possession against the town. So there was no question that the town was going to lose property. It was simply a question of whether they continue to build the wall or not. And at that point, it appears that everything kind of fell apart because they weren't getting any response back again from the town employee. They tried to contact the town manager. I believe they tried to contact your office too, because there was a letter sent apparently saying, take the wall down or there'll be litigation. This whole thing just got blown out of proportion because it was never the intention of the homeowner to claim anything. That house is at the top of the hill by the mansion, across from the old foundation. Norris built the house back in probably the early 90s. They've been living in it ever since. Norris told them that he put the foundation 50 feet from the property edge. So when they put the wall in, they put the wall 50 feet from the property edge and didn't realize that actually that was town property. You can't even see the wall. It's no damage to anything. And the thing that bothered me the most out of this whole matter is that when the report came to the town manager that it was on town property, the manager, I had a conversation with her about this, called the attorneys immediately. And my comment to her at the time was, did it ever occur to you to call the property owner and talk to them? That never happened. And it didn't happen through the next 6 months. So we've spent money on attorneys, we've spent money on a survey. We have gotten everyone upset over something that really should have been handled 1.5 years ago without lawyers. But that's my own opinion.
Right, but we're left here today with a stone wall that's been built on town property.
Yeah.
And to me, that's unacceptable. So for me, they got to move the wall.
Yes, I would.
What?
It sets a bad precedent. And I think at this stage of the night, I'd set a motion to continue legal and have them direct them to move the wall back on their property.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? No.
We've had several instances of things occurring on town property where, we acknowledge the fact that as long as everyone knows it's town property, you can't get adverse possession against it. And here, they were more than willing to remove it a long time ago. And now, at a continued and substantial expense to them, you're telling them to move the wall when they were willing to do it 1.5 years ago when there was only a third of the wall there. At some point in time, can we sit back and say, what's the harm with this wall?
The harm with this wall to me is that it's 14 feet onto town property, which is unacceptable.
How much town property do we have stone walls on this island? We have, and many of them aren't boundaries.
We have a survey with a wall that was clearly built 14 feet onto town property. And that I think it sets a terrible precedent, and I think we have to pursue all of the rights that we have to get the stone wall off of town property. That's,
You know, I think that we would prevail in court. I don't think there's any question about that. But I think the ball's been dropped here along the line, and I'm not saying the wall shouldn't be moved. Okay, but there should be some accountability as to the way it was handled between the past town manager and the employee that was sent up there, because I don't think that's fair how we treat our citizens that way. I think the ball was dropped on our end of it also. I don't think that, I'm not saying the wall shouldn't be moved, but I think, you know, someone isn't being truthful as to what was said and not said, okay, for one. And I think that it's unfortunate to get to the point that it was, but if my understanding was, it wasn't the building official or whatever it might be. So I just think there was some, the ball was dropped on both ends here. I don't think this was a matter of someone went out and said, hey, I'm gonna take 14 feet of the town property. I don't care what the town says.
so we now know that someone has, I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but we now know in our role that a wall has been built that essentially takes town property, that is on town property. We, to me, we have a responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know that it takes town property. I know that there's a wall
Yeah.
on town property.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not disagreeing.
There's a wall on town property.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it is anybody's but the town's property.
Yeah.
So in other words, that wall might be there, but the town still owns the property on this side of it, on the other side of it, and where the wall is itself. So I think at the very least, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be moved, but I'm saying at the very least, you know, I would want to have something in the, if the wall were to remain as a town wall, that the deed or the property, I don't know if this can be done, Nick, is identified as that is clearly not a boundary line. That is that is not the boundary line to that property, which I think can be done through the titling or however it's done within the town. That is a option on it because it is the town property and it is the town's, essentially the town's wall. Now, we may want to get rid of the wall. We may want to do something with it. I think we can, or we may want him to get rid of it also. But I think my point being is it isn't the only, you know, I guess I said, what's it impeding at this point here? I think it clearly needs to be identified that where that boundary line is. I think it needs to be identified on the title and on the deed, whatever from that end of it. And I don't know a lot about this, but just from here, it bothers me the fact that the way our past administration handled this, that really bothers me. And I think that we wouldn't be where we were if it was handled differently.
So, fair enough. Fair enough. I come down, as I said, we have someone who built a wall on town property. And to me, that's just not acceptable. But, so I would support Tristan's motion.
So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I agree that it's a wall on town property. We don't want to go easy on this because we can't just have property owners adopting property all over the island, right? But I have consistently been hung up on the fact that we had a town employee who went down, told them that when they were partially through this project, like, looks great, keep going, right? Instead of taking out the survey and saying, looks great, but it's on town property. I don't know, Nick, I mean, on the one hand, I'm not even kidding. If they had moved one rock every day that we've been talking about this darn wall, it'd be moved by now. So that's sort of frustrating. But is there a way to have them put it in their deed that to sort of acknowledge what Keith is saying, that that wall is not on your property? But if the house transfers in any way, like if they put it into a trust, if they sell it to their kid, if they sell it on the open market, if that property changes ownership in any way at all, that first the wall has to be moved? I mean, it's just kicking the can down the road a little bit, but could it be written into an agreement with them that goes into their deed?
Without having a path for you, I'm sure that something could be figured out, whether it's a contract or some type of document recorded in the land evidence records. I'm sure something like that could be figured out. You have excellent counsel for the property owners. I think on our end, we could figure something out. So if that was your prerogative, we could get creative.
And if that were the case, if we decided to put a road in or whatever it might be, we can do what we want with that wall because it's the town's, it's on the town's property.
Well, I would suggest that that be part of the agreement, although I don't know how the property owners would feel about that.
What's that?
Could we not have them gift it to the town?
They had offered to do that a year and a half ago.
So-
They couldn't get anybody to pick up the phone to.
If the council were inclined to leave it in place, it would make it clear, wouldn't it, that that wall became town property, that we could do what we wanted with, and just establish for the record.
I guess I'd
Yeah.
continue here, going down and being on town property and standing on the east side of the wall. It's clear that the wall was built over the line for the survey that we've been shown tonight. And also that property is now manicured that, let's call it 15 feet. Counselor, is
14.
that about right?
Yeah,
From
14.
the center line?
Yeah, 14,
And there's
15.
been is there new shrubs in there? Or is there a flagpole? There's something else on the plan.
There's a flagpole, I think.
Yes,
Uh,
sycamore tree, cherry trees, yes.
From a distance and being in the mansion piece of property, it looks to me like this property has gained quite a bit of lawn frontage. So I will go again with my original motion to have the property owner move the wall back within town ordinances and put it back on their property.
Can you, Nick, or James, I would like to provide you with as much leverage as possible in your conversations with with the lawyers. So I think it would make sense to authorize you to press on and to communicate with the lawyer that there's an inclination to press on, and if he has any ideas, he ought to put them before you and put them before the council, because we're ready to litigate.
All right, and I just need clarification on that.
I'm just making it up as I go along.
Yeah, that's okay, but at certain points I need to stop you so that I know exactly what you want. Do you want a proposal from them as to what they would do, whether it be gifting or what have you?
Honestly, Nick, you know me. I don't want. I mean, I don't want a proposal, but I'm trying to reflect what I'm hearing. I think Tristan and I are in a particular place where I'm prepared to tell them that they need to move the wall. And I feel very comfortable in that. I think absent Tristan's motion, you don't have a lot of leverage to have another conversation with them.
True.
Just thinking strategically.
Well, if I could interject, if there's even the possibility that there is some other option available and the willingness on the property owners, to consider that, because everyone wants this to go away, but is it worth it to go back to their attorney and say, okay, look, it's on town property. That you were willing to move it when it was only a third built. We know that we may have some culpability for stopping that and now making a situation much worse and more expensive. We're not necessarily opposed to that stone wall staying. It's on town property.
Not speaking for me.
But
I
if
am
they,
opposed to it.
if they give the wall to us, we've got a wall on town property.
This
What's the
is a
problem?
property owner that built a stone wall 14 feet into town property.
Unknowingly. That
Where is
makes-
the wall?
It makes a
Where
huge
is,
difference.
where is the wall?
Unknowingly, it was
Where
built
is the
on
wall?
town property.
Where's the wall? It's on town property, right? Yeah. It needs to be moved.
Why?
Because they built it on town property, and the precedent of letting someone just build a wall on town property is problematic.
If people want to build stone walls on town property that don't bother anything else and aren't used as boundary lines, you know, I'm not so sure that there's something hard. They didn't build a structure. They
But
didn't
I'm
put a
gonna disagree
house.
with that. I'm going to disagree. I am very much in favor of finding a negotiated solution here that doesn't involve moving all the rocks, but I do not agree that it's okay to build a structure on town property when it's not your property, that the town is the only one that should be building on town property. So a wall is a structure.
But do
So-
you understand the difference between knowingly doing it and
I do. And
unknowingly?
that's the part where you and I agree, because
Yeah.
I definitely, my sticking point all the way along here has been that, you know, an agent of the town, an employee of the town went, viewed it, gave it a thumbs up, told them it looked great. And that's a sticky point, that, because it's not cheap to put up a wall.
Yeah.
So, but that's the only reason that I think we should find a negotiated solution, but I do not agree with your statement
Yeah,
that it's okay
okay.
to put something on town property.
True, true. But I think that impacts the precedent issue. If we had a situation again, the town can take the wall down. That's another option.
Go ahead, Ken.
Just out of curiosity, did somebody say there's a flagpole on the town land now? Did I hear that?
Don't hold me
I-
to that.
no,
but
I don't-
believe I believe where the flagpole is
Is on the,
is on.
so.
It's on
the
the,
very
it's shown
least-
on the other side.
Oh,
Nick,
it's on
could you-
the, on the homeowner's side.
From
Other side.
From
Yeah,
homeowner side, I'm
homeowner's
sorry.
side.
Thank you. That's why.
Nick, you agree with how
I
I'm
do.
reading?
Homeowner side is how I read it.
Great.
Okay, and it looked like the wall was curved, and does it start and end at the actual property line?
That's what I asked him, is the 14 feet the farthest part, and does it curve back in, Nick? So let's say the
Sure.
first one, but 20, 30, does it escalate out to the 14?
Well, my point is, if each end starts on the property boundary, it looked like you sort of knew where the property boundary was. If it just happened to start and end
Yeah.
on the property boundary, you just bumped it out. So I guess if you didn't move the wall, perhaps the town could, at maybe their expense, could plant some native shrubs right along the town boundary line. And maybe put a nice path through there for the public. It butts mansion, right?
It's, yeah, as you
Yeah.
drive up to the mansion to be on the
Right,
right
that-
hand
You
side.
could put some nice native plants there, some not bittersweet, winterberry, something like that. Put a nice little walkway through there for the public access. And
There is, yeah, I mean, there's all shrubbery on the right hand. You don't really see the wall from the mansion property side.
I would put the new nice native planting on the property boundary and let it grow.
Doug, did you want to add anything?
As Nancy said, it's true, you can't get adverse possession from the town, but the town's got to know it owns the property. When we were did the shoreline access working group, we went around to find, researched all the access to the water all around the island. There's a lot of them. Some were kind of hidden, some were very, very unknown. And some of them property owners kind of did not want people going through their property to access what the town had a legal right of way to go to. And my feeling is if, in worst case, maybe what Tim says is that here's a property line, you don't do any maintenance on the other side, you leave the wall. But if you do nothing, let this continue, in 20 years, you're all gone. People's going to think that's the town property line. So you can't leave it to memory. So, oh, it's in the deed somewhere. We know it's right. Well, unless somebody's going to go read the deed of every deed on the property, everybody's going to think the stone wall and what they're manicuring is the property line. And that's too bad. It was a bad mistake.
Why don't we just take it down?
That's,
That's too bad Mike isn't here. We could ask him, you know.
I mean, I would be fine not spending the money on litigation and just taking the wall down.
I think it'd be a lot less expensive.
Yeah, no, we're still in discussion.
I think that's what Amy was suggesting, that if they were to gift the wall to the town, then the town could take it down.
We can take it down now.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
It's on our land.
yeah, they don't, technically, they don't have to gift it.
All right, Nick, Tristan, I wonder whether you're okay with this, but I would like to, Amy, would you talk to Mike Shea about taking the wall down, please? And then we will revisit this at an upcoming council meeting. Would people be okay with that? So
Yeah,
we know what that is?
just 1 second.
Yeah. I said-
The last time clarification, did we give them a timeline? Did we not vote for that? For an action timeline?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And then the response that we got back was, let's pursue alternative to litigation. That's the response we got back.
What's that?
They're gonna litigate against the town.
No, it was our pursuing litigation.
If it's town property, I think you said just take it down, what do you have to live?
Are you okay with waiting until Amy talks to Mike? Will you withdraw your motion? I withdraw my
I
second.
can withdraw my
Amy,
previous
are you
motion.
okay with that? All right, great. Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.